as long as it goes together.
Bob's.
Okay, I call the planning board meeting to order, the meeting of April 18th, 2017 at 6:32. First item is Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, just want to announce that you can record the meeting or film it, you just have to let the board know. Announcements, only usual announcement, we still have an opening for the alternate for the planning board. Anybody interested? Please send your letter of intent to the planning agent or the town manager. Do any of the board members have any announcements? I guess no announcements there. Does any of the public want to say anything? We've got to fill in 2 minutes. No? Since there really is no public here. Just want, well, might as well get on and just mention that Montechusett Regional Planning Commission did not meet. Tracy is on vacation, so unless she sent a report, the Montechusett Joint Transportation Committee, is there a report from Tracy?
Yes, she provided a list. It's 11 by 17 on where Central Street ranked for a project on the tip.
Oh, okay.
So that's for your information. It looks like you ranked second, so that's good news.
Oh, on our Central Street, on the
Yes.
tip for which year?
Actually, it should say, let's see, for what year? It's soon. I think it's 2020.
Okay, that would be a big
Oh, wait.
plus.
2019. That's what it says.
You don't have a dollar figure on that, do you? or-
It's right on the list here. It says estimated cost would be $2,777,428.
That'd be a nice addition if we could get them to spend over
Yeah.
$2 million remodeling Central Street.
I think Tracy's working with the DPW director and the town manager. They're trying to sort out design costs at this point.
Fantastic. But having it on a tip doesn't mean that you're going to get it, even if it's second.
Well, you just got to advocate for your project and push for it.
And that's it, and I know Tracy will.
Yes.
Well, we are at the time now of 6:35, so I will reopen the public hearing for the formal site plan review for the proposed solar array at 38 Happy Hollow Road. If you would like to come up.
Good
If
evening.
you could sign in again, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I already did.
Oh, you did, all right, you're a step ahead.
Is this on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Winchendon Planning Board. My name is David Albrecht. I'm the Chief Civil Engineer at Borrego Solar Systems. We are located at 55 Technology Drive in Lowell. You might recall I was here a few weeks ago where we presented the project for the first time to this board, and we responded to a number of comments and questions. I think there were 30 or 35 from your peer reviewer, Whitman and Bingham. We answered a number of questions from the board. I think there was an abutter from Eli Drive that we responded to a couple comments or questions from as well. And we left the meeting with the knowledge that we still needed to respond to a couple other comments from West Fliss at Whitman and Bingham, and that, Mr. Chairman, you wanted your board to spend time looking at those first responses before making, any more decisions. So I guess my first question is, I know Mr. McCronin, you were not here last time. I guess if there's anything in particular that you'd be interested in asking me, I could go through the presentation all over again. I'd be more than happy to do that. If there's anything specific, you.
I watched it on a YouTube video, so I saw your.
Did I look good?
You did.
Okay,
Okay? And
wonderful.
Yeah, I think Mr. McFarland will be putting in a Mullins certificate that he did watch the meeting, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you very
Okay,
much,
so he
appreciate
will be
that.
able to vote on the hearing.
So since the last time we met, we did respond to some more comments from Mr. Fliss at Whitman Bingham. They were all really, we went over our responses. He had some additional questions, and we did this all over the phone, so there is no further comment letter as far as I know, Wes. And what we did
Would
was,
you like to come up to the microphone? Would you? Not would you like to, you probably don't want to.
Good evening. Wesley Fliss, Whitman and Bingham. And so as David was talking about, we'd gone back and forth a couple times over the phone and via email regards to a couple of the comments that were outstanding that we saw, at least with regards to the plans and some calculations that were submitted with regards to the drainage. And I know David had a chance to send out the updated plans, I believe it was yesterday, to the board and also to the fire department to make sure that everybody had a most up-to-date set of plans. There was one comment that he did make to David that I think he was going to make a small change to the plans that with regards to some of the grading on the site, nothing really major, but it was pretty minor change on the plan that needed to be made, I think, with regards to the wording on it. But other than that, there was, at least with regards to the plans, everything was taken care of with regards to our comments. And then one of the items in David's email yesterday was a waiver letter. And so I know there was 9 waivers that they were requesting as part of their submittal, basically in response to our review, our initial review. Instead of revising plans or supplying additional narrative, they felt felt it best just to ask for the waivers from those items. And I know one of the items we did speak about at the last meeting, and I think David brought some additional information on, would be the first waiver on your list there, which, like I said, we know we spoke at the last meeting about, which had to do with the noise study. So I know David, like I said, I think had prepared an initial plan that was submitted to the board via email yesterday, and I don't know if where you want to go with the conversation at this point, but if you want to get into the waivers at this point, if you have any questions from us or from David about the plans.
Well, actually, probably one of my first questions is on the LID. Did you look into that?
I did, and I know Chantel emailed me about that, and from the way the language is, it doesn't necessarily specify what kind of permit it is. It just said the permit should be done in conjunction with whatever permit's being applied for. And so I think the way they did it seems like it's the correct way to do it, that it's applied for in conjunction with a site plan review as part of this process. Doesn't necessarily say in that I don't think it's a special permit necessarily. And that's one of the questions that Chantel had, is we weren't sure if it was going to be a special permit, but there was no language in there that said it was a special permit necessarily.
So this would be a regular majority vote then?
It seems like
As
it's just
as you read it?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's just another, basically a piggybacked onto whatever permit you're applying for.
And that's
So in this
good to
case,
know
it's
for
site plan,
future.
yeah, exactly.
Right,
Yep.
I verified that with Tracy, that's correct.
Okay, very good, very good. Well, first, does any board members have any questions? I have a couple here, but,
Question.
yes, Mr. Gould.
Is it fair to say that both of you agree that everything is okay with this plan?
From my perspective, yes. Wes did mention there was one note that he had requested a slight change to. We did make that change, and that is reflected in the plans that you have, both the reduced size set and the 4 full-size sets. So that's been taken care of. But as far as I understand, aside from the waivers, which are up to this board, that we've complied with everything that Wes has asked of us.
Yeah, and we don't have any issue necessarily with the waivers that relate to the plan itself. They seem basically consistent with what's been done in the past, I guess, with in previous projects. The only real waiver that we don't really have any opinion on would be the noise study, because I think that goes back to the board and how you want to handle the noise issue. We aren't noise experts, and I don't think David's a noise expert from that instance. I know he has a plan in regards to cross-section, so I think it's up to the board on how you want to handle that waiver. I think there's only, the rest of them seem like they're all technical in nature with regards to what needs to be on the plan or what they're asking for a waiver from, and we don't have an issue with those, really those waivers.
Now, refresh me, have you done any noise studies out there already?
No, we have not.
I don't know how the board goes on this. I still would like to see a noise study done on where the homes are on the backside of the hill, maybe. From a couple points there along the property line, before and after.
Certainly, that, we understand that is one of the requirements in the bylaw. If I could, Chairman, I could show you sort of a cross-section, a typical cross-section through Happy Hollow, through the abutters that are on Happy Hollow, and then down into the gravel pit. You can kind of see why we're asking for the waiver. We're not, a noise study is not it's not rocket scientist. I actually, Wes doesn't notice, but I live next door to one of the very foremost noise and vibration experts in the country, and he likes to talk about noise a lot. But let me show you, I'll show you the aerial that we showed you before, and then I'll show you where we took a cross-section, and I'll show you that particular cross-section.
When you say cross-section, section of what?
It'll, a profile
Yeah.
through the land showing the existing grades, the proposed grades, and where horizontally and vertically the home is versus where the ridge is, and then where our system is. So
Basically, you're saying that topography will eliminate the need for a noise study.
Correct, correct. So this, if you remember, this is upside down, but we turned it upside down because the only vantage point this particular aerial came from was from the other direction. So Happy Hollow was along here. Here are the homes, and there's really, these homes, you can't see a thing. They're, 800 feet away. So what we did was we took a cross-section through here, through this house right here, and so we turned this on its side. So here's Happy Hollow running this way. Here's the homes in gray. This is our property line. And the cross-section runs through here. So basically, we're just taking a slice through the land, showing the topography. Now, there's a lot of exaggeration here to make it really pop out. So that's 20 feet. Is that that distance vertically? And you can see that this building here, the home itself is even lower down, but we're not sure, we didn't go onto the property, we don't know if this is if someone lives in this building or if this is a shed or a garage, but it was the closest one. And you can see that, here's the ridge, it's easily 10 feet higher than the roof of the building, and that our system is down here. So our system might top out at about 946. This tops out at almost 960, and the top of this building here is probably about 944 to 945. So sound doesn't go up and around. And this is all heavily treed too. This whole area is heavily treed. The trees don't block sound. You need an absolutely, completely opaque wall or fence. Even a grape stake fence isn't going to do it. But we have that here. We have earth. So no sound is going to get from here to here. From here to here at all. I would be surprised if anybody could even hear
No sound at
the
that
earthwork.
decibel. If you
Yeah.
had a jet port over there, so.
Yeah, if this was wide open, they wouldn't be able to hear it. It's just too far away. And with this in the way, it's even more silent. I would really be surprised if even during construction, that much of that noise would be heard.
Okay, well, I guess this will be at the pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yes,
could real quick,
Mr. Gill.
do you have the dB output of one of those units, what would that be roughly?
The dB of the inverter, which would be the piece of equipment closest to a sensitive receptor, is like in a butter, is 55 decibels at 3 meters. So 55 decibels at 10 feet, plus or minus. And background noise, ambient noise in a rural situation like this during the day is probably on the order of, 40. It's just sort of what you hear, traffic going by, just normal noises. Nature itself makes noise a little bit. However, when you take the ambient noise away, you take the 55 decibels, and then using the inverse square law, you take a distance and see through the inverse square law what that 55 decibels would be at that distance. It's less than the 40, so you wouldn't hear it.
And that's a straight distance, not.
That's a straight
factoring in
distance,
the-
yeah, it doesn't, there is some value of, sound that they say can go up and over things, but 55 decibels is so quiet, I'm talking louder than 55 decibels right now. So the ambient is, 40, I think we calculated in the letter that we first submitted, I don't remember the number, but if it was 55 here, at that distance, I want to say it was something less than 20 decibels. And if it's 35, 40 ambient, you're less than that, so you wouldn't hear it.
Mr. Fletcher, you concur with all this?
Again, I don't know enough about sound and engineering to,
No, I live right next to the West Palm Beach Airport. We had an earth berm, so I know a bit about sound.
That's all, that was my only question, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions on the board?
Are we going through these one at a time?
No, that was one I had on my list here, on the noise testing, and I think we went on that. I got the LID, and I don't see, we had discussed about conditioning that you would put the road back to state, from the construction to the liking of our Director of DPW.
Correct, we expect that would be a condition of an approval, yes.
Okay, that would be,
Yeah. We're amenable
well,
to.
these are the waivers, not the condition, I'm sorry.
We're amenable to that
Yeah.
condition.
Okay,
So how would you like me to word that condition as far as the right-of-way and the DPW?
well, I would, that they, if any damage is done to Happy Hollow Road, is returned to the satisfaction of the Director of DPW,
Okay.
returned to its previous state.
We're fine with that, yes.
Okay, if you have anything else, chime in.
Okay, certainly, that sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, is there anything else on this list that the board would like to go over, the things we went over before and that Wes was supposed to comment on? Or do you want to start going to the waivers, get those done?
Well,
Or just, not done, but talked about?
why not just simply ask Mr. Flitz if he has any problem with the waivers?
Sounds good.
nope. And so the only other, and I think the way the condition has to be written, I think for waiver number 5, and I know Dave and I had talked about this, is they're asking for a waiver on the signage. There is going to be some signage out there, but until they submit for the building permit, some of the information on that signage is not 100% known at this point, and so that information won't be known until the building permit's applied for, and so they agreed, at least when David and I were talking about it, is that the signage will be signed off on by the building inspector. So it doesn't come under the purview
So
necessarily.
that, would that be a waiver or a condition,
Well,
actually?
they would still need a waiver from it because it's not shown on the plans, but I don't know if you want to make that as part of condition as the approval that, yeah, you granted the waiver, but the signage is going to be reviewed by somebody in the town before it goes up on the
That
fence.
the signage per our regulations need to be when they submit the as-built or something
Well,
like that?
when they submit the building permit application, that information will be given to the building inspector.
Okay,
But all the rest of the information on there has to do with actually what's on the plan itself. or information that's supplied as part of the application to the planning board.
You're fine with these? I think the one waiver we have is waiver one. The question to the pleasure of the board, if they want to, is that a waiver that you'd want to give a complete waiver for the noise study or some variation thereof after his explanation?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'm of the opinion to grant that waiver. Being familiar with some of these projects and understanding the topography and the dB level, I'll make a motion to grant waiver one, section 6.11.6C, the noise study, and I will leave it to the board to discuss from there.
Okay. Any other input on that? Well, we have a motion to grant that waiver. Do I have a second on that, or?
Yes.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor of granting that waiver? Theoretically, yeah.
Aye.
Good. Mr. Gould?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Actually, I don't know if we need to vote on them now or wait till we close the hearing and we vote for everything else, but I think if we go over these, we've already done that, so we can do it either way. We have waiver 2, driveway apron, 3, driveway slope, drawing scale. Those are all technical items, as Mr. Fliss said. Does anybody have any problems with those before we, in discussion here?
Well, since Mr. Fliss has no problem with the waivers and so forth, let's do them all at once.
Okay, very good.
Was that a motion?
Huh? I will move basically that we grant waivers 2 through 9.
Second.
Okay, then, how does the board vote?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Okay,
I got one other question.
yes.
Has either one of you gentlemen had any correspondence or phone calls from any abutters?
We have not.
Have not. Okay. And the abutter, I don't think that gentleman is an abutter. No. Okay.
He's all right on that guy.
No, and I gave the fellow who was here last meeting, and I did not hear anything from him and so forth, so. I do have one other question. Is this A&R that we have later on the agenda part of this?
It is not.
Huh? Is not, okay, thank you.
Okay, very good.
I have no problem. I've been out there, and I should point out that the lot is a substantial in size, and as I understand it, these solar projects don't make any noise.
They're unmanned. There's nobody living there.
Easy
Well,
money for-
if they did, you'd have a tsunami on your tail, so everybody know that. So, I have no problem with this. I thought that the matter was well-engineered, and as usual, Mr. Fliss rises to the occasion, and so, albeit late, but I have no problem with it whatsoever, and I'm prepared to vote on it.
Okay, great, so if there's no more testimony to be given at the hearing, if nobody else wants to comment, we will close the hearing. So I call this hearing closed at 6:55. Thank you, gentlemen. Now we can vote on the different items on the conditions. If there are any conditions, Chantel will.
I had just started a draft, so I can, well, obviously I'm gonna have to work on it some more with the comments from tonight. So, but I can hand out what I do have, which was standard right from the rules and regulations, and we can work from that.
Okay, well, see, the thing is, if we're going to vote on this, we need to have the conditions.
Right.
Okay, so
And-
you're not gonna be able to have a final vote tonight, then?
Okay, it doesn't seem like it.
Okay.
So we will have to put this vote off to a following meeting.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, can you give us a draft of what you have right now for conditions?
Sure.
To ensure that we,
Because I didn't know how you were gonna vote on the waivers and, all that, so, yeah, I did, the standard, what I could do. All right.
Mr. Chairman, it's not uncommon for a board like yourselves to, I mean, you have a wonderful planning board secretary who's already developed the draft, and if there's any additional conditions, we're certainly knowledgeable enough to help you if you have any questions on how something's worded. I mean, we do this for a living.
Yeah, I just,
And Chantel can certainly write them all up here. I don't know how many there might be. I think probably the boilerplate rules and regulations is the majority of them, that'd be my
Yes.
that'd be my guess. And there's no reason why, if the board's willing to take that little extra time, that you could vote on it tonight.
well, how many conditions are there, special conditions?
I grabbed from the bylaw.
Okay, the special conditions, not the regular conditions.
Right. And,
We have the condition on the road.
right, I have to put that in.
We have the condition on signage,
signage?
and,
Zoning bylaw,
what's that?
signage.
A condition that they do the signage being, who they call if there's an emergent, that's the signage we're talking about.
I think that's the signage that we
Not
that
just
we
the
put
plate
up.
that's on there, that who they call. So just that they do it when they,
Yeah, there's signage required under your solar bylaw that's what we were talking about in our.
right, yeah, and that's what I mean, we've waived
Yes.
the ability now, but we just want it when the final thing's set up to have
Certainly.
it.
Yeah, they're,
I can word it in such a way that the waiver is granted for underneath the design standards for site plan review and underneath the solar, but they have to still comply with our signage bylaw.
Yeah, in the final line,
Right,
before they get to whatever
okay.
stage it is, we can write that condition. So actually, we can hash out the conditions roughly now, we can vote on it, and she can finalize the exact wording of it, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Yes, Mr. Gould.
On item A, approval of this plan is granted to the only named applicant. So what happens if, after a year, they make a lot of money, they decide to sell?
well, they would, it runs with the land. The name runs with the land, so any transfer of the lease, because the land will be leased. We lease the land from Mr. Fletcher.
Yeah,
And then, once we find somebody to own the system, and those are the people that we build it for, we transfer everything to them. Everything gets transferred to them. And if you're asking, so a year down the line, if they decide to flip it to solar company B, they will do the same thing. They will transfer all ownership and rights, permits, licenses, I'm not an attorney, et cetera, to the new company. And they'll be responsible for everything associated with this approval.
we are granting this to the Fletcher family?
No, you're granting it to Borrego Solar.
Huh?
You're granting it to us,
Okay.
me,
fine.
not me
Now,
personally.
suppose you decide to sell to the Fletcher family.
They would, I mean, I guess that could happen, if we were to, they would have to pay
If I
us
could
14
interrupt
million,
you for 1 second for clarification.
they would have to pay us $14 million to build it.
See, with the way our conditions are written, our standard conditions are, that it doesn't run with the land, it runs with the applicant. And if the land is sold, they have to come back and transfer.
Right.
Oh, if
The
the,
way
oh,
our
if the
special-
land is sold, if Mr. Fletcher,
As a reading here, as Mr. Gould well pointed out, approval of the site plan is granted to the named applicant only and only for the purposes stated in this application. And that's the way it's been with our town solar system here. They've been back to us half a dozen times with when they've been transferring it. Usually it's never a
I
problem.
want to
but-
point out one other thing.
Yes,
too.
Mr. Gould.
And item B. Any officer, agent, employee, and so it may enter upon the site at reasonable times with or without prior notice. You might want to take a very close look at that, because if, I don't care who it is, and I only know in one instance, this is chapter 138, where municipal, you cannot stop a municipal board from entering on a piece of property, and that's under the liquor law. If you get out there and it says no trespassing, I don't think anybody from the planning board or anybody else has the right to go out there without the consent of the applicant. And this is something you might want to take out. This is in an awful lot of prerequisites and so forth, and I think it's wrong.
Well, I think the exact opposite. I think it's right that during the building phase of it, the planning board can come out and inspect it, that you're doing it.
If that is written in in that way, but as you can well imagine, no one but who owns the system or who operates and maintains it would be allowed in the system once it's constructed.
Got it.
Yeah,
Once
that's,
it's constructed, no, this is only the conditions, once this is fulfilled, these are gone, the conditions are gone. Am I wrong, Mr. Fletcher, right on that?
I don't know if you have a certificate of like a compliance item, but yeah, I mean, you can write it such that during construction, just put in that paragraph during construction.
Well, our standard conditions,
Some of them have to be in perpetuity, though. Some of the,
we've been doing these for 5 years this way now.
right, no, I know, but some
No,
conditions,
I mean,
some
it's-
conditions go in perpetuity, though,
Yeah.
depending on how they're worded. But
Doesn't
it-
make it right.
Yeah,
yeah, as long as it says during construction,
It says it right here, during surveys and examination of construction is undertaken.
okay, we're fine with that. We fully expect that you'd be interested and you'd want to check up and
that's,
see how
you
things
know,
are going.
That is, you know, right, that we should be able to come and inspect it during construction. Once it's done,
Yeah,
it's something.
during regular business hours, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
you know,
and-
with
and this is
appropriate
in
notice.
pursuant of official duties.
Right.
We can't come out and just go la, 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 la.
No, I don't think you would want to do that.
No, I just say, so it's clarification here.
Right.
I think the rule of thumb, even if it says no prior notification, most times notification is always given. I mean, unless you can't get a hold of somebody.
Sure,
But,
sure.
so.
I mean, if you want time to review these, you know, on these.
Well, if
conditions.
you have a copy while you're looking at them, I can be looking at them as well.
Yes, we do, right here. But these are standard conditions on all of them, so.
When I look at something like this, Chairman, I'm looking at it really from the eyes of who we're gonna be building it for, because 5 years ago, they really didn't care what was on a piece of paper. They really didn't. They just wanted to get their solar in the ground, get their return on investment, and that was it. But now, they are so particular about the intonation of a word in a sentence nowadays sets them off. So,
There'll be more.
But this
so
is-
we can go through these quickly.
Yeah.
I'm a fast reader.
Okay, and just so you know, it's, when you find a buyer and this is transferred to them, they just come before the planning board and we make sure basically that they meet the criteria.
Sure.
No, that's not the mafia.
If I could, what I might do, which would make this even easier, is that we have an entity
Yeah.
that is the LLC for this project. It's, probably like 38 Happy Hollow Solar LLC or something like that. What I'll do is I'll get that to Chantel tomorrow morning, and so when you do write the permit and the approval, it should be in that name.
Okay.
Instead of Borrego. It's easier to transfer it,
Okay.
because otherwise we have to transfer Borrego to that entity, and then when we sell it, we have to transfer it again. So that would save a little bit of time and
Because
headache.
you can see the point
Sure.
from us that, somebody, if it's not standard, can transfer it over to a basically shell corporation, get rid of their liability and walk away from it and leave whatever holding the bag.
Sure, certainly.
So that's why that's there, and that has happened over past years, so. We go back 15 years, and this clause wasn't in any of our, so we've had projects sold, and they're still going on 10 years, and we don't know about it.
I imagine that does happen, yes.
We as a generalization.
Better take a look at H&I.
Well, there's currently an earth removal permit there, so Mr. Fletcher can still, we anticipate he may remove some material under that until we commence work, and he may, after that point in time, still remove material from the site. We just, that hasn't been determined exactly.
Yeah, but in fact, this is going to remain basically exactly what it was originated for several years ago. It's a loam and gravel removal
Correct.
company.
Right. So we anticipate that that earth removal permit will remain in place however long, I'm not sure how long they,
This project has started, you're saying, basically.
probably, through probably the first half of this project, because that's when we're gonna be doing our earthwork on site. He may be taking that material and removing it. We're not planning on removing any material. We wanna use what's there. If he takes away half of it, then we only have half of it to use, and that's fine. We'll have less earthwork to do. But we don't know how much he'll continue to take off.
If it's an order of conditions and it says no, H and I, both.
Correct.
Those are standard conditions.
Huh?
These are standard conditions from the rules and regulations. I guess it might be a little more complicated since there's already an existing gravel operation on the property itself. I think the question is when does this change of use actually occur, and then what triggers this to be over the solar installation, or is it over the land itself? So
Well, it's not a change. It isn't. I mean, the existing permit has been there for several years. And in the business area, they're not about to let go of that. So either you could, I think the order of conditions ought to be adjusted in this particular case to simply say that, they've got a loam and gravel business and so forth, and of some magnitude. And this particular lot is still in use. So you can't say that nothing can get removed, because then it's not a valid order of conditions.
Correct.
And I'd have to get a legal opinion on that before we change this, from my point of view, on how they interact, or, get some opinions on it.
Certainly. I would suggest that maybe there could be an additional note maybe placed in there that there is an active
So we'll put these notes, and then
earthwork
we'll end up acting on this on the next one.
earthwork removal. There's a current and active earthwork removal permit. Is that what it's called, Chantel?
yes,
And that they may continue to operate under that permit until such time that it expires.
this should be interesting.
I think you need to talk to the building inspector and find
Yeah,
out.
I think we would have to talk to the building inspector on this before.
But if that were put in here, I would say that H, we don't have any real concerns about it. Maybe instead of said shall be removed from the site until the entire parcel, but instead say until the grading shown on the approved site plans.
Well, you're really not going to remove anything from the actual solar site itself.
No, we're
except
just
in
moving it around.
construction.
Our plan is to just take that material and move it around. We want to raise the bottom up,
I can
raise the
assume
bottom
you
up
need
and
to have
smooth it
level
out.
playing field and so
Right.
forth and so on.
Right.
But the rest of the land over there has a valid permit, and I would want to restrict them.
I agree.
Yeah.
You're not doing an A&R plan, right? You're just leasing the land from him?
Yeah.
And Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If I can just address Chantel, can you make a separate note that these are the kind of contradictions in the zoning that we want to make sure that,
Well, these are our regulations, and
Yeah.
so that's the thing about standard regulations. Sometimes one size doesn't fit all.
Right.
Especially where this is a solar installation, and this was, I feel like that these regulations are dealing with more of a brick and mortar sort of, business that's building versus a solar installation. So it's unique.
do we, if I may, do we have the authority to waive these conditions?
I do believe you do.
Yes, we do. These are our conditions, these aren't bylaws.
And that may be something you could consider.
Yeah.
But talking to the building inspector and dealing with the whole, well, it's really a change of use of the land. It's not necessarily going to be removing gravel anymore. There's going to be standing solar panels there. So, just double checking and kind of seeing what your options are isn't a bad thing,
I think what could probably fix that, and you'll probably, building inspector, is upon beginning construction,
Right.
just that little caveat there. Because till you guys break ground, they'll be using it as a gravel pit.
Do you have a lease plan?
Right.
But we want to run that by the building inspector.
Yeah, I just added, I just said, put in, basically to start out, note H, aside from the current earthwork removal permit, and maybe it has a number. No sand, soil, loam, sod, gravel, or other natural shall be removed from the site until the entire parcel has been graded. I would say until the project limits.
Until a permit is drawn for the project.
Until the grading, well, I'm trying to sort of put the two things together, like,
Yeah.
note that there's an earthwork removal permit and say that,
Well,
aside, because he could choose, Mr. Fletcher could choose to take, even though we are taking 24 out of the 30 acres of sort of the bottom of the pit, we're taking 24 of the 30 acres. He still has more gravel he could take outside that 24 acres and outside of our fence. We're not limiting him at all from doing that. He could still continue to take from sort of the, I would say it's probably the west side of the site is where there's still some gravel he could take out. So he should be allowed to continue to do that. And we are not proposing to bring any material out. We've made that pretty clear. We're not proposing to bring in loam. We don't want to necessarily seed the site. There is seeds that, grass seeds that will, well, actually not grass so much, but blue stem and switchgrass that can grow in sand. And we may be doing that. But we're not bringing in topsoil. If there's any on site that's left and he's willing to let us have it, we'll use it. But for the most part, we're just going to be taking what's there and moving it around. But we don't want to limit him, I think is your point, Mr. Gould, from continuing his
Sure, we'll just have
opportunity
run
to
that
make
by
some
the
more money.
building inspector, as Mr. Fletcher suggested.
Yeah.
You might be doing an A&R plan to cut off just a piece of your lease.
Well, we do have a lease. And, once the final design is complete, we'll basically go, 25 feet outside the fence line and create a leased parcel.
Yeah.
It'll be it'll be recorded with the system owner, but we don't know who that is at this point. So my suggestion was, aside from the current earthwork removal permit, number, date, no sand, soil, loam, earth product shall be removed from the site until shall not be removed as part of this part of the project. So that basically allows him to do what he needs to do. And if he wants it
We'll
to,
run that by the building.
and then, yeah, versus saying until the entire parcel has been graded. That's pretty broad. So I can make these suggestions in an email tomorrow, and then you can bounce it off the building inspector.
That can get worked out with that
Sure. The building inspector's back from vacation on Monday.
on Monday, yeah, this is vacation week for a lot of people.
Yes.
Yeah,
Might as well look at any of these other conditions you might have, like a modification because of these circumstances of this.
so I don't have any issues all the way through P. You have special conditions, so the special conditions we talked about is the signage, returning the road, Happy Hollow Road, to its pre-construction condition. Modifications. Financial surety, this is always a fun one. So one of the questions that comes up with regards to the financial surety, and I'm anticipating, or I presume that this means the decommissioning.
Yeah.
So when this is, right, okay?
I understand.
This is written in such a way that we don't know when to give it to you.
Yes.
We would typically do that before a certificate of compliance. So it's constructed. There's no sense in having a surety bond for something that's not in the ground yet. So we would prefer to, before we get the certificate of compliance or completion, whatever the town of Winchendon calls it, we would submit that
Tracy
surety bond at that point.
normally asks for it before the building permit. That's what she's been
Yeah,
doing.
when you pull a building permit.
Yeah.
We have done it then too, but we sort of make the point that we're giving it to you, but there's nothing in the ground yet, right? If
Well, when
2
you
days, if 2 days after we get the building permit, the whole thing dies, we basically spent money and given you a surety bond for nothing. I just want to make that point, that's it. We're not against doing it with the building permit, but,
That's up to you, but that's what
Yes,
Tracy
well,
told me.
that will be up to us next meeting,
Okay.
To decide on when we want it.
Right.
well, we
I
can
guess-
put that in here as what I'm suggesting as we go through this, and you
Mr.
can,
Fletcher, what is
So
the
to-
standard procedure?
To go on to what David's talking about, I understand not obviously giving it to the building permit part of it, but you're talking about when you get to final sign-off from the town. But from my understanding is you could still turn the power on and still collect money before you get the final sign-off from the town, from the building inspector.
no, the certificate of completion or compliance usually should not allow it to be turned on.
I would just make sure before they can turn the power on and send power back into the grid, that you
Right.
get that. Because I've seen on other projects where the power has been sent back into the grid before the final certificate of completion has been issued by the building inspector. I think that's really when
The other side of the coin is if they get it half-built and walk away from it for whatever reasons, then we're stuck with the project to get rid of it, so.
Yeah. We have a promise in our lease. In our lease, we're required to remove it as well. So it's,
Yeah,
but I understand your concern too.
yeah, so.
I mean, I would like to,
That will be,
whatever you want it to be, I'm willing to talk about it and put it in here right now. If you want it to be prior to the receipt of the building permit, then we're fine with that.
well, since we're not deciding on this tonight. we can
Well,
do that.
okay, so we've decided, Mr. Chairman, the board
Well,
doesn't
you know,
want to
if we
vote
have to
on.
speak to the building inspector.
Right.
In regards to this item here, if you want to change this, I wouldn't feel comfortable changing it without speaking to the building inspector. You know. And right now, we
Building
closed the hearing, so it's just a matter of A or nay on it.
Right.
Have you talked to the building inspector at all?
I have not, no, I don't know if if Zach, who you met last time, had spoken
you might give him a call because he's up to his elbows with this little project out here and so on and so forth, so.
Yeah, I don't know if the project manager is maybe, or the assistant project manager, sort of on our construction end, they may have reached out to him already, I don't know.
Well, I'm hoping Chantel will relate all these to the building inspector when he comes back from our planning agent.
What I can do is I'll write him a nice email with all the information. That way he has it.
All the requests on,
Right.
for the changes that he's requesting on our standard conditions.
Yeah, I would anticipate that if we could have a look at the final before the next meeting,
Sure.
we can, it can be pretty, like you said, it can be pretty straightforward next time.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman?
yes,
Just so we're clear, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. We're going to go back and look at letter A.
I would not look at it for myself. I would not change that.
Okay,
For myself, when it comes to the vote, but I'm telling you, we've got problems before that, and we want to have approval of whoever purchases it, or whoever name is. We did the same thing down at the landfill. I keep calling it dump. But at the landfill, they've had to come back each time they sold it. Same with Water Street. River Street had to come back once already for a change of ownership. And that is a standard.
okay.
For me, anyway, that's, I'm strong on that one.
That's fine.
Letter B, the examination during construction. Do we need to further clarify that?
I think you're fine with that. We clarified it during construction. I think you clarified it.
Correct.
That, it's not in perpetuity. So the points here are H. And there was the other one that was a surety that you.
H and I kind of go together, and then the surety, and, we're not gonna, I was making the point earlier, just so you understand where we come from, but I understand your point as well, that, hey, if it gets, partially completed, what's your recourse? And, aside from counting on our lease with the landowner,
Yeah.
you don't have any. So
Scrap
I
metal
get
or-
that, I get that.
Of what's there,
Yep.
so we'll find some point in between that time with the planning department and you guys, basically, on that, when the
Right.
best time is for that. Because I gotta tell you, we don't have the experience to decide exactly when. I think it would be better put with the building inspector, planning department, and history, at least myself.
Yeah, I would expect the building inspector's gonna know exactly when they want it.
And then I don't think we have anything here besides the special conditions or additional conditions
Right, the additional conditions.
that we will be
and all that.
working out. So what, do we have any, Mr. Kelly, any comment? I think actually we should just table our vote till the next meeting on this. We'll have all the information, we'll have it all worked out. And if you've talked, it will be just a matter of a vote of the board. They'll come in with everything written.
And
The
Ms.
second.
And that's why I want to be very clear on where we're
Yeah.
going with the conditions, just because I don't want to have Borrego come back our next meeting and have another list of five or six things we need clarification
We've
on.
had the hearing now, so,
Sure.
there's no more testimony to be taken, no more, now we just do clarifications.
I would expect that when Chantel sends us the final version that you're all gonna be looking at and voting on, if we certainly don't have any issues with it at all, I don't know if you'd even want us to be here, you could just, I just wanna make sure that all four of you will be here.
I don't think you'll need to, but that,
Right, I mean, someone probably will come along anyways,
'cause
just
I
in
think
case
we
you have,
hashed it all out, it's just a matter of
right.
Yes, Mr. Gould.
So then we're going to get all these things settled on May 2nd, is that
On
correct?
hopefully May 2nd, it'll be a 2-minute vote.
Okay, thank you.
That's what I'm hoping. And there's no continuation now, it's just
No, you close the
table
hearing.
it to the next meeting is,
Right.
um,
Just a,
If I get
just
a
a
yes.
couple of points of clarity on, I've not worked in the town of Winchendon before, so I would presume that the final approval will reference the latest set of plans.
Yes.
yes.
The decommissioning amount that we supplied, that we provided in our application should be in there as well. I don't remember what it was, Chantel.
I don't know off the top of my
It's
head.
it's in the documentation
Okay.
somewhere, but that amount should be noted. That's another point of contention with our system owners. They'll go, well, what's the decommissioning bond amount for?
Mm-hmm.
And we go, well,
Okay, yeah, very good.
yeah, I
We have
I
no problem-
I
have
want,
no problem
I
knowing
want
it.
everything, you know.
Yeah,
Otherwise, I spend 2 hours trying to, I'll come back to this board if we don't put it in there. I'll have to come back here for you guys to write a letter that Chantel will write to send to me, so let's
Well, I
eliminate
think
that.
These little nuances that you talk about that we're not familiar with, you can work out between now and the next meeting with Chantel, and we just come with a
Mm-hmm. Right.
clean,
Yep.
set
Perfect.
of, site plan.
Wonderful.
approval, conditions.
Yep, I look forward to seeing it.
Thank you for your time.
Oh.
Do you wanna anybody wanna make a motion to table this till the next meeting, or,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Thank you.
So hopefully,
Thank you.
I'm hoping for a quick meeting next week.
Yes, thank you so much for your time, Chairman, members of the board. It's been a real pleasure.
Oh, thank you very much, your, very good, presentation. Okay, we're a little late here, but, the, public hearing, continuation on Roberts Way subdivision. We open that hearing at, 7:30. And if you could, announce your name and sign in, please, for the...
Trevor Fletcher with the
Trevor?
engineering company. Work with Paul. Everybody got a plan of the new, that was just submitted, or?
No, I don't, well, some of us got them electronically, but not hard copies.
Great.
We have little hard copies, but if you got big ones,
Yeah, we got big ones, so you can see it. The one by
do you have
17.
enough, or here, you
I
want
got
this?
3 of them. And then I got some little
Here,
ones.
Jay, you take this one, because I've seen it already.
Set this one up here. Yeah, okay.
Now. Actually. Get some notes here, I'll go to, find. Oh, there they are. Okay,
Yeah, so I guess the last time you guys spoke with Paul, the acceleration lane was in discussion.
yes,
And he went out there and I believe he wanted to do the breakdown lane at first, but then you guys wanted him to widen out the pavement. So he's widened the breakdown lane by, I think, a foot to make the breakdown lane, or create that into an acceleration lane and have that be 11 feet wide.
okay, so I think it's 2 feet, actually.
Is it
is
2
what
feet?
the-
Yeah, I wasn't
feet,
sure.
because
He
it
didn't give me
He did
specifics
say
on
it was a 9-foot,
Oh, okay.
and he was making it to 11.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, so it's designed to be 11 feet wide now. And, yeah, it's gonna be a 350 feet long. And also I got in touch with the natural heritage people for the endangered species,
Yes.
just because that's gonna be extended kind of closer to that. And I showed them the plans and they sent me a letter, an updated letter, saying that they have no problem with the changes to the plans. If you guys wanna see this.
Great, now, did you pass that on to anybody, or yet, or?
No, I just got this afternoon.
Okay,
so-
because that will need to go to Comcom.
Exactly,
Our
yeah.
planning agent,
Okay.
because they are the ones that are having a problem with the 2 feet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So should I give this to Chantel now?
Well, we
or-
should take, if you have copies of it.
Yeah, I
we'd
do.
be
Yeah,
glad
that
to
would be
have it.
good, thank
For our
you.
packet and Chantel, yes.
Thank you.
Make a copy as well.
If anybody wants, there's more than one copy, or?
Yes, of course.
Okay, you wanna? So they have no problem with it, but that's.
Nope.
That's something that Comcom has. Now, have we heard back from Ty and Bond, from Gene on this?
No, not yet.
So we have not heard back from
Okay.
our,
And I can touch base with her. Also, I have some updates from department heads. The DPW director says he has a phone call to the state to make sure that whatever is going to be proposed is, it would be adequate. He wants to make sure. So he hasn't got a call back yet, so he's waiting. Conservation, their status is that last Thursday, they continued the notice of intent, hearing pending stormwater management review from our engineer as in regards to this acceleration lane. So as soon as we hear back, I will let David know, what and how that may affect the Concom and their decision as far as this
I
project.
say I did attend that meeting last Thursday, and for Comcom, I think right now, this is, there's still one hurdle to get over. I think they've got over all their other hurdles
Okay.
on that, just for note, but,
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
I'm going to qualify that answer.
Yeah. Yeah, fortunately, he was on vacation, so he couldn't be here today.
Yes, and so, as I said, there's a lot of people. Anything else in that area of people that we're waiting to hear from?
No, the police chief stopped in and he grabbed a set of the plans. He was actually glad to see that you extended it an additional 50 feet. The conversation was for 300 feet, so he was actually glad to see that. So, yeah, beyond that, I think it was just the fire chief, and I didn't hear anything back from him.
So I think everybody's sitting, waiting to hear from Ty and Bond on this.
Okay.
Yes, so,
Is one of them. Yeah, Comcom is waiting for Gene to comment on it. And that, those comments that you told from Dave and Al and all those guys were from that review meeting that you had?
actually, I got those today.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, as of this morning, I had nothing to tell you. But, yeah, since then, they replied to my email, and Al stopped in, and David replied to my email. So,
Now, we were, last time that Paul was supposed to update us on the waiver requests. Did you get that, or did you get that, Chantel? I haven't seen anything.
I haven't seen an update. I asked him to do a new list for me.
Oh, he did not tell me anything
And, no,
about
he said he was gonna do it, so
Yeah.
he probably
All
with
right.
everything.
Okay.
So that's something you might wanna bring back to him.
Okay.
Right.
Because I don't think we're gonna settle this tonight, I don't know.
No,
No.
But he's here for the A&R also, so he's just filling in.
Yeah. Yeah, he just told me that, oh yeah, just show them the traffic, the acceleration lane and
and
see what
wing
they
it.
say. I was just like, oh, okay.
And wing it. Now, we were also talking about ownership of the road the last time. That was a heavy discussion, for lack of a better word. And Mr. Kelly, you brought that up, was one of your points, ownership of the road as a.
Sure, just the secession of ownership
Yeah.
of that road. Did,
Paul didn't
Yeah.
mention that to me at all either.
and I appreciate, and you're here for the other
Yes,
A&R
yes,
as well? Okay, good.
We're just picking your brain.
Yeah.
So all he did was give you this, asked you to show us this.
Yes, yeah.
I'd like to
Feedback on that.
to make a motion that we continue the hearing to the next meeting.
Sure, does anybody want to second that?
Motion,
To continue the hearing until the next
But I do
meeting.
have questions before I
May
call the
2nd?
vote.
May 2nd?
May 2nd, yes.
Okay,
What
I'll
time?
second that.
At 6:35?
Okay.
Now, before I call a vote, I have a couple questions more I'd like to ask or relate information back to on ownership of the road. I just, and I want to relate to the board. I was talking, somebody was coming in town hall today. They had done a private road. They had built a few houses on it. The people that built the private road died and left his wife with a private road
Okay.
that she's been paying taxes on, not a lot, but she is basically gonna end up walking away from it.
Yeah.
Let the town take it, and, you know, she has no interest in it. And so that is one of the points why it is very concerning on ownership of the road.
Okay.
Because, once it's all sold out and somebody doesn't wanna pay the taxes, because being private, it will be taxed. Not a
Exactly,
whole
yeah.
lot of money, but,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, I'll bring that all back to Paul and see what he says.
Okay. Mr. Gould, could I have you, change your motion to 6:30 instead of six?
He made the
oh,
motion.
Mr. Kelly's to 6:30 instead of 6:35?
See.
It drives me crazy, those 3 minutes we sit there waiting for 6:35 to come.
Sure, yes.
Agreed.
So amended.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the chair votes aye. So, let Mr. Graz know we will see him at,
Okay.
6:30.
Sounds good.
Okay. Now, we have you for the A&R too,
Yes. Yeah.
so I might as well, stick around.
Yep.
This is for the park.
Is that?
The DPW stuff.
This on
Oh,
the
okay,
A&R.
perfect. Thank you so much.
This is on the A&R.
Before I forget.
The A&R for.
Yeah, now we're,
Got something else in between?
looking
or-
at the A&R.
That.
Fletcher,
Yep.
your father one of the owners?
Yes. Well, WJ Graves Construction.
Huh?
WJ Graves Construction.
Oh,
Your father came before me when I was, as a matter of fact, your grandfather came before me when I was a selectman. You look like a Fletcher. I was looking at you over there, and I thought, hey, you know, even after 30 years, you know, and so on and
that's
so
funny.
forth, you know? So, hey, is your grandfather still,
My grandfather, yeah, he passed away 2.5 years ago.
you know, mhm.
Yeah. I actually just bought his house
Yeah.
down on Wall Street.
Holy smoke.
time flies.
You look like a Fletcher.
Okay, if you could give us a, if you want to,
I got a couple plans here.
couple of plans that have to be signed, I
I
think.
have the ones that you brought, Trevor, on the back there.
And
Yeah.
Mylar.
Okay, I've got one here.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is just basically an A&R. There's a parcel in Winchendon that they want to build a garage on, and it's going to be just conveyed with the Templeton parcel. The frontage is going to be in Templeton, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And
That's gonna be in ownership with the Templeton
the
parcel?
Templeton yeah, the
So-
Carleen
So that'll
Fletcher,
be,
yeah. Yep,
all one parcel, basically, if they're in the same ownership.
that is correct, yes.
Okay, very good. I see here you added, not a separate building lot,
Yep.
and, yeah, this looks like a pretty standard move one lot to the, from one owner to another owner. You
I'm
know.
gonna move it be approved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? No?
Over the years, I've had an opportunity basically to do quite a bit of business with the Fletcher family. Never had a problem. Never had a problem.
Great, then I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, chair votes aye. We'll take 1 second to sign what needs to be signed.
The plans and the
Sharpie?
Form As and Sharpies are all right there.
So you have a, okay.
How's business?
How's business?
Yeah.
For engineering or my father's?
No, oh,
We're doing good.
good.
Yeah, had a pretty busy winter, which was unusual, just because we had a couple nice days. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
When they first came in here years ago, your grandfather came with them.
Yeah.
I found out who the boss was
Yeah.
in a hurry.
Oh, yeah.
Big hurry, yeah. Yeah, I remember that quite well, and it was like, you see, when you came in here tonight, I thought, hey.
Yeah, are all the meetings starting at 6:30 now?
Huh?
Are all the meetings starting at 6:30 now? Yeah. Okay, because I thought it started at 7. I thought it was early. And I came home, I saw the sign on the door, I sprinted up. I was like, oh no.
They were starting at 6 all winter, so.
Oh, really?
Split the difference.
This is late, yeah.
6:30 is.
Yeah, because last time I came, it was at 7, so.
It wasn't easy working for your grandfather.
No? Was he
Boy,
hard,
it's a
hard to
hard-
work with?
He was a hard, oh, boy. Yeah, and, in fact, 2 or 3 different times, he's had to come back up and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. And we knew he was in the room.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, boy.
Yeah, he was a funny guy. Cleaning out his house and,
Huh?
cleaning out his house and.
Oh, it's gotta be something.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
yeah, it's
He-
gotta be
He
something.
never threw away any.
No, no. Boy, he was hard, no, but a good businessman and so on and so forth. And, hey, the children learned from a good guy.
Oh, yeah. That's sad to see him go. He worked till the day he died, that's for sure.
I worked years ago with Paul, because I used to work for Double D Construction. down
Okay.
there, and we did a couple of projects.
Okay, and then we go here, but you have to sign the Mylar with the Sharpie. Yes. Yeah, we need three of the paper copies and the Mylar. So there's 5 copies there, we don't need all 5. Down to the 3. I think that's it. You don't need to sign. Yeah. Good way to stretch. We're still on TV, so. Oh.
You're one of the smart ones. You got out of the sand and gravel business and went with the,
Yeah, it's the same realm of things.
huh?
Same realm of things.
Yeah,
The concrete,
yeah.
my dad owns the concrete plant, so we do a lot of septic, so. figured
Yeah,
kinda
boy, I
get-
think of him every time I go by over there because, gee, this was, I think 30, almost 30 years.
We keep the other 3, correct?
Yeah.
Is that the way it's
Yeah,
done?
because I went out there, when I went out there,
We need,
where the bank is now on Happy Hollow Road, there wasn't a shovel. You know, it was just, you know, virgin territory, and it was a good buy. I mean, it really was, and so forth, and nobody gave a, in those days. Now, just ridiculous. I mean, it's,
nobody,
if they had to do it today, they couldn't. Especially with the water there and stuff like this, and, you know,
wait,
We got lucky there for a lot.
somebody,
that's what grandfather is all about, boy, let me tell you, you know, and,
yes, this place is haunted.
Do you just need the Mylar or a paper copy too?
Doesn't matter.
Well, it does matter, you know, we can go to the registry, but I think you just need the Mylar.
Yeah. Just a mile. Well, actually, we'll take a paper copy. too.
A signed paper copy?
Yeah, for our records, yeah. If you got an extra one. If you need two, that's fine.
I don't know what we need, but,
I can always make a copy as long as we at least have one original.
yeah, if we have two, so if you give them the Mylar and one signed one, we'll have two signed ones.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
but your father, I think you're better looking than he was.
Oh, okay.
You know, I know who
love to
told
hear
you
that.
that. Yeah.
Are we all set?
We are.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, good luck.
Good night.
Yeah. Now, next item on our agenda is Miller's Run subdivision. Mrs. Van Dyke, you could just sign in.
Okay, good evening. I guess you'd like to maybe hear an update from me from the first meeting, or do you want me to go straight to this issue?
Whatever you feel comfortable with.
I would just like to say that a lot's happened in 3 months. I took everything seriously that you asked of me before, and I hope to finish everything well. So we did get a demolition permit and remove the building at Linden Street. All the current taxes are paid in Winchendon. We have a permit to demolish the building at Brown Street, the end of Bayberry, and we have a machine there now. Thank you. And that will be taken care of on Monday. We've been to, I think, every department in the town to make sure we know so I know what I'm supposed to be doing with this subdivision and meet all the rules and comply. I just want you to know that I have Charlie Walker and Frank Harvey, who've been with the project since the beginning, helping by going to different people such as Paul Graz, who's been very, very helpful. We have all lots are pre-approved and ready to build, pending staking of the wetlands by the commissioner, inspecting the stakes for each house site. Everything's filed and just awaiting us to go in, with house plans for each individual lot to build. I've recruited the Elm Grove group to help me and partner with me in finishing the project. And we've been talking about, the sale of the subdivision, where I would agree to meet the bond and make sure the road's done and everything, but turn the building over to them. They would pay me for the lots and then do the building and use my employees who are very familiar with the project and all of the engineering and everything to finish it out. But we're running into a little bit of trouble. There's a little bit of financial hardship because we had told them there were 11 lots left, and we're finding out from the wetlands and setback issues that we may only have 9 lots left, which, you know, that's where our profit's going to come from, to sell the lots with houses on them to pay off all that's necessary to complete the water hookup to Brown Street, the base coat of the road at the end of Pinewood to meet Brown Street, and then top coating the road, finish the sidewalks, raise the, whatever you call the drains, put in 2 more light posts. So we've been getting estimates for every detail from paving companies, electric companies, talking to Public Works, getting estimates for the pipes and the hookups and the everything, water testing, so on and so forth, so we can present it to the Elm Group. And just recently, so we were just told that we probably only have 9 lots out of 11 left. And then I discovered this flexible residential bylaw and brought it to Tracy's attention about a week ago, because none of us were aware of it at all, just because it kind of landed in my lap. So I did find out that, so in that bylaw, which I think Tracy gave you a copy of, I don't know if everybody is aware of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So there, you know, there are restrictions for 2-bedroom homes deeded with lots. Those have been met. Those were met in the Bayberry section. But now with 9 lots left, with the restriction of 4 houses have to be 55 and older and deeded with the lot, it's just another huge restriction on someone trying to sell property. So that's almost half of what lots are left. And I was told by Tracy that, so I'm asking for a modification of that detail, and asked that, it said, she told me that the flexible residential bylaws are no longer current, but the subdivision is still active. But I'm saying, you know, is it really necessary to impose that restriction at this time? We do, I'm sure we've sold to a lot of people 55 and older, we just don't have it deeded and recorded as such.
That restriction has been on the property since they originally set it.
Yeah.
And actually, the project itself was approved, if they had done conventional, they would have been allowed, I think, 36 lots. So they were given extra lots to put that 55 restriction
Well,
on.
Tracy told me that Bob was given, let's see, he was given an extra building lot for every 2 homes that were age restricted.
Correct.
There were 4 age restricted lots required, so that would be, he was given 2 lots.
Correct.
Right now, we're losing 2 lots, and I'm gonna ask you if you could just call us even, because we only, I know it probably should have been happening while Bayberry was being built out, because I think there's already 29 houses built. Now we're down to 9. And I'm just saying this is a hardship for us and for the Elm Grove to consider. I mean, if we have to do it, we'll do it. We'll try and fit it in. But we're losing 2 lots, so we didn't gain 2 lots in the deal.
Well, I
And
can see where that might be
unfortunately-
a good, you know, trade-off. If you have to take 4 lots and make 2 out of them, then, you know, you might be able to give back that too. But just so you know, that we have to have a public hearing on this. We cannot just say.
I know, I was made aware of that, and I think that's unfortunate, but I understand that's part of your,
That's part of the regulations.
so.
Yes, modifications, should the developer or any other interest desire modifications of the approved plan, he shall make application therefore to the board, and the board may also propose modifications And it goes on to say, the board shall hold a public hearing therein with notice as required in 361.
Right.
So there is a process there,
Okay,
but I don't know how anybody else feels about it. And when the hearing comes, you know, then it will be the testimony and that. But I can see if myself, you know, if you have to take 4 and make 2, that's a 2 lots 55. You know, that's a wash for me, but I don't know anybody else can chime in on that. Or Mr. Gould, do you have any comments on this?
I read Mrs. Van Dyke's letter, and I went down to take a look at this facility. Obviously, Mrs. Van Dyke has had quite a load dropped on her, and I certainly would like to help. Take a look at some of these plans and rules and requirements were done in the 2004 and 2006, and times have changed, and a lot of things have changed. Should also point out that the Van Dyke family has risen to the occasion here. Pond Street property is gone. The property down on Miller's Run that needs to come down, the excavator is there. They've shown good faith, and I'd like to get this board to show some good faith to them and help Mrs. Van Dyke out. My suggestion would be is that, just for once, I'll agree with the chairman. He's got to have a public hearing. That's not a problem. I think it would be helpful to everybody in the public hearing if the Van Dyke people might put down in writing exactly what they would like from the planning board. You know, what restrictions that we would, you know, that we could look at, and so on and so forth. And so that our people could take a look and make darn sure that it's legal, so that we haven't got to fool around for a couple of years with some of these foolish regulations we've got here that, you know, obstruct everybody. So I'm certainly willing to, would like to help the Van Dyke people. We've had some conversations about a couple of other properties and so forth, which are going to be handled, and perhaps a little bit later on this year, you may be pleasantly surprised. So Mrs. Van Dyke is doing her best, and I think we ought to do our best to try to help her.
I'll just comment that Tracy had said she would forward Form C to me to fill out so I could explain the modification request, and I never saw it, so I don't know.
I'll follow up on that. I talked to Guy about that today.
Okay.
I just, I haven't seen the Form C myself.
Okay.
So I'm gonna dig it
I
up.
can have the correct form to you later tonight. I'll
Okay.
email it over to you tomorrow morning.
Okay.
and She can
Okay.
send it off to you. It's basically the form we use for most things.
Okay,
Just name, address, who it is.
Right.
and-
It's the application, I think.
Yes, it's
It's just,
basically
we're
the-
gonna put modification and.
That's
I
how it
think
was
that's
done
what it
for
is.
the Madison Avenue
Okay.
and, you know, past
Okay.
ones. So it's basically the same form
Mm-hmm.
and very simple.
okay.
And I can dig that out. We'll follow up on that.
When would the public hearing, I mean, how would that process go, and when would the public hearing be? When would the public hearing
What-
be?
What you would do, it has to be advertised in a local paper 2 times, 2 weeks ahead of time. And then, so it would probably, the public hearing, well, how long do you think it would take? It would probably be our second meeting in May. Because you have to notify abutters, there's, you know, a bit of a process there.
Now, we're going to have something in writing exactly
Right.
of the restrictions that they want lifted, but
Yeah.
I would ask basically this be done without a new site plan having to be done and so forth, because that'll take forever and a day.
It doesn't have to be.
No, I think so in our Form C, she can just explain it, she can come in, we have the hearing, people comment, other people can comment, and then we make a decision on how we do it, and I think would be that if she gives up 2 lots, then that's a wash. We go back to what the originally was, and what she originally was allowed if it was a conventional.
Probably can't find the old plans anyway, so.
I don't know, we're going on the old plans, I think, and then that's why we keep running into, there's new setbacks now, so we're losing a lot because of the setbacks, and then we're losing another one. Oh, and another thing that's coming up, just so you know, well, I don't know how much information to give you on other topics, but as when we demolished that building over there, the Wetlands Committee is requiring us to come in on the 27th for a hearing because the original septic is now in the wetlands because it's changed. The lot lines or the wetlands lines have changed, so we have to come in and get special permission to dig that out. I mean, everything's being held up. The sale's being held up because every time we go to do it, there's another restriction and they're getting nervous. You know how we don't want any stone unturned, so we've been going to every board, tell us what we need to know. I mean, we want to do everything right. I want to keep going forward. We want to meet these deadlines, but every time we go one step forward, we're going.
We want you to succeed, because if you succeed, Winchendon succeeds.
That's right. We're trying to succeed.
Yeah. Anybody that comes here from the Roberts Way to the solar, we want them to succeed, because that's more money for our tax base.
Yep, that's right.
The quicker she gets the application in, the quicker we can advertise, the quicker we can
Right.
schedule the hearing.
Tuesday, if I get it to her, if she can get the advertisement in, it's just 2 consecutive weeks. Courier is.
Do they publish?
They only
publish on
publish once a week,
Wednesdays.
but you can
They
go to.
publish on Fridays.
Oh, good.
I
We have a
usually
couple
need
days.
3 weeks head time.
Yeah, so that
for
would probably
them.
be the second meeting in May.
Yeah.
And, because I don't think, there's not enough time to get it for our meeting on the 2nd,
Yeah.
even the 2 weeks. And so you do the Courier's a lot cheaper than doing the Gardner News,
Yep,
you know.
okay.
All right, I'll work on that.
Is there any other information you'd like from us? Or does any of the board members have any questions for Mrs. Van Dyke?
I don't have a question, but I want to kind of piggyback on what Mr. Gould said. When you came back before the board a few months ago, I want to again reiterate how much work your team has done. And to hear Mr. Gould satisfied is really remarkable. That means you're ahead of the game.
We're
So,
working very hard. Every day I'm working on it,
yeah.
one way or the other.
So you have, we're reasonable. We want to get it completed just as much as you do. So if you have questions, continue to be proactive. Like, that's the best thing to do.
We have a great team. I mean, every one of them are totally dedicated, and we're all on the same page. We're trying to move forward, so we all want to get it done. They want to help me, I want to help them, so.
Well, keep
And
up
you
the
want to
good
help
work.
us, so
Yeah,
we're
keep up the
we're
good work.
trying. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and thank you very much for the update. And we will get that to you toot sweet.
Okay, thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda, old business. No old business. Committee meeting updates. I've done mine. Do you have, and you updated us, do you have any other information, Chantel, in that department?
I think that Tracy had a couple of updates. She had the update on the MJTC, which dealt with Central Street. So you have the listing in the packet of all the different projects in Winchendon second. She also had a update on the Community Economic Development Steering Committee. Do you want me to read that, or do you want to?
If it's in the packet, we
Yeah,
can read it.
sure.
Unless there's some pertinent information.
The committee's hosted a ribbon cutting for More in Real Estate. The next ribbon cutting ceremony is April 30th at 10 a.m. at Dee Dee's Treasures, Gardner Road, to celebrate her first year in business. Look for more ribbon cuttings in May and June as new businesses are opening up, and those celebrating anniversaries are doing so with a ribbon cutting. And then correspondence, there was only one, and it's for this select board and its second impressions, so for their dealer permit.
Yeah.
And that's it for updates and
Very
correspondence.
good. Do we have minutes on the agenda? I'm sorry, I buried the
Yes.
agenda, so.
Yes. From last meeting.
Okay.
Here are the minutes if you need to look.
I've already looked over them.
Before we vote on the minutes, real quick, I just want to give some kudos to our recording secretary. The minute, I get them via email, sometimes within a day of the meeting, which gives me, 2 weeks to look them over, to review them. So I wanted to make sure that I recognize the work that you're doing, because it's great.
That's great, to get them in that timely fashion.
With that said, I read the minutes. I move to approve the minutes for Tuesday, April 4th, 2017, as presented.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstain. I just want to note that I did miss the hearing on Roberts Way, and I have filed a Mullen Jewell certificate with the town clerk, and I will be giving one to our recording secretary to put in the packet. And the same with James McCrowan. He's putting in for the last 2 hearings. He met a Mullen Jewell on each hearing because he did review it, from what I understand, he told me, so just wanted to note that. Any other business?
I move to adjourn.
We got, one of them's the first, one's the second, take your pick. All in favor?
Aye.
Didn't even take a big one.